Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show. And now, here's Jeff Crilley.
Welcome back to the Jeff Crilley Show. For the final segment, we're going to talk about love. And my guest is kind of the ultimate matchmaker, which is fitting because her website is theultimatematchmaker.com. Jennifer Donnelly, welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Now, we go back a long time because
Yes.
I interviewed you years and years ago when I was at Channel 4.
Yes.
You were with another company. And I always was mesmerized by your idea that, you need the human touch. And
Absolutely.
And back when I was interviewing you, the whole web thing hadn't really taken off the way it is now. It seems like most singles go straight to online dating now, don't they?
Online dating has completely changed dating in general. When I first started, we didn't have websites, we didn't have the internet. I remember I was recently out of college and my sorority sisters were calling me going, "What are you doing? Like, it's a dating service?" Nobody was really doing it. But I knew at an early age, literally when I was in high school, I went to a business seminar and was asked to stand up and talk about what I want to do when I graduate from college. And I was thinking, well, right now I'm 16. I want to be at the football game that I'm missing. But eventually I want to start a service for quality people to meet quality people. My best friend was with me. My childhood best friend was at that seminar, and sure enough, that's what I'm doing. I knew that's what I'd be doing.
Wow.
So
You've always had a talent for this. When did this begin?
literally, and I can say his name because he wasn't a client, Jason Pettigrew and Lindsay Horton. He grew up across the street from me when I was 7 years old. He brought me a Snoopy snow cone when I first moved in the neighborhood. Sure enough, I found him his wife. I was at the mall and heard this lady talking. Approached her. Knew nothing about her, but intuition is a gift. It's not something you can teach or train. You're just born with it. And I absolutely believe that's my gift. I approached Lindsay and said, "I know this is a little odd, but are you single?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "I might know somebody. I need to get to know you a little bit more." Sure enough, got to know her and introduced them. They're married. One of my sorority sisters as well, right out of college, introduced her to her husband. I knew that was what I would be doing. And you have a friend, right? That
Yes,
was married for me,
absolutely.
another reporter. So it's very common. I'm not a marriage broker, but I am very, like I said, intuitive and very good at what I do.
Well,
Love
not to bash online dating because
Right.
some people have been married and have kids
Yes.
from online dating.
Some have had success.
Right.
Correct.
But what are the downsides of online dating?
The downside is that a lot of people who are online, it's almost like a mobile bar. You have the apps in your pocket. I just want to see what's out there right now. And I think it also paints a picture that the grass is greener because people see these enticing photos. Oh, she's attractive. Oh, I wonder what she's like. And it creates a false image because quite often people don't look like their photos. They're in relationships. They're thinking about ending that relationship, but they're not certain. They're like, let me see what else might be out there. Then they start investing time. You talk to these people and then you never meet them. Or when you do meet them, they don't look like their photos. Yes. I had somebody tell me recently, she said, "I met this guy online. He was great. He was 10 years older than what I wanted, but he had a typo when he typed in his profile." And I looked at her and I said, "Do you really believe that was an error?" And she said, "Oh, absolutely." I said, "Let's just go to his profile and see. Pull it up." She pulled it back up and she's like, "Oh, it's still the same age." And I said, "Exactly." So there's a lot of dishonesty. People want to believe the best. And I'm not saying it can't work. I think
Right.
if you have millions of people trying something, there's going to be some success at some point. But what I do is more personalized. It's hands-on, and I love it.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the process. So somebody listens to this and they're saying to themselves,
Right.
"Gosh, I've been through the online dating thing. It's not working out."
Right.
What is working with you like?
I have with different clients, I do different things. I have some clients that want me to travel with them and find what they're looking for. I had a client recently. He said, "I really want somebody that's into surfing." He lives in Dallas. And I said, "Well, where do we go?" I can find people in Dallas. He's like, "I want people in San Diego too." So I'm like, "Okay, well, let's go to two different cities if we need to." I'll find, it depends on what they're asking me for. Some people, I deal with very successful clientele. So a lot of times it's, "Listen, I want you to make sure that they don't have a financial motive behind the dating aspect of dating me," or "I want to know that she's okay with a prenup," or it varies. But my point is that I will go and search interview after interview after interview, referral after referral, asking people, who do you know? Because everybody knows somebody single. And of course, after we're done, I'm going to ask you, who do you know that's single?
Right.
Everybody in this room. I want names. That's how I do it.
Now, let's talk about your intuition, because I think a lot of people, call themselves matchmakers, but you do have a gift, don't you?
Absolutely. I do. And it's a matter of fact, when I was 21, I took this test, and it was something that was given to me as a gift to take. And I took this test, and out of I can't remember, it was millions, but I tested number 3 on intuition. And I was still in college, and I remember the founder of that test calling, saying, I want to talk to the girl that took this test. And I remember him explaining to me, your intuition is so incredibly strong. And I remember I didn't really understand all of that back then. I was, like I said, in college. But now that I'm doing this professionally, it all goes hand in hand. I mean, you can meet people, and a lot of times what people think they want and what they need is different. And so, especially with the clientele I deal with, they're strong and powerful, and they're used to making their own decisions. So part of my job is to let them let go of what they want to do and let me do my job best.
Wow. How about the shows like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette? I mean, do they help you or hurt you do your job?
I mean, I don't think it affects me either way. I think anything in dating has helped me, because the more things that are out there and the more craziness you see, people go, I don't want that. I need someone like Jennifer, because my job is to screen as much as I can, right? To screen and ask the questions and spend time with the candidates and make sure that when I put somebody in front of my client, they're going to have enough chemistry to go out again. And hopefully I've asked the right questions and been in tune enough to paint a realistic picture for both parties, not where one goes, oh, I thought you said he was this and he was really that. My job is to paint reality.
Now, we've seen some of these reality shows. I won't name any names, but they're like blunt, and they'll tell you off and tell you that you're an idiot and why did you say that on your date? What's the experience of working with you in terms of how you coach somebody to be their best self?
I'm definitely direct. I mean, I don't have a problem being direct. People don't hire me to be their friend. They don't hire me to be nice, but they also don't hire me to be rude either, although if I need, I'm very direct. And so my job is to create results. And sometimes, and again, dealing with high-powered professionals, they're very strong, and they're used to telling people what to do and how to do it. I'm like, if you're going to pay me what you're paying me, you need to let me do my job. And so oftentimes, we do get into a little bit of a debate, but at the end of the day, I just need to know they respect me. You don't have to like me, but you'll respect me and think I did a good job for you. And that's what I want them to walk away with, that they had success. They felt like I not just introduce them to somebody, but help them have success along the way. A lot of times people meet that right person and they read things incorrectly. I had a client recently, sent me a text and said, this is what, she said. And I'm like, that's not what and he thought she meant one thing. I'm like, no. Let me see the whole history of what the conversation was. I'm like, no, don't say this, say this. He's like, oh, thank you. You helped, So a lot of times it's what a man thinks and what a woman thinks. And if I could just walk through every relationship, I think we'd have relationships all over the place.
Do you have like a first date 101? Because I notice that a lot of guys especially will make dumb mistakes, like they're texting or answering the phone during a first date.
They are. And there's so many things that people do that you would think is common sense, but it's really not. For me, it seems so normal because I'm in the industry. This is what I've been doing for 15 years. But at the same time, yes, people. I have 101 coaching, and we'll talk about, tell me what you did on the date. Let's walk through it. Some people hire me just because they're not going on second dates, not necessarily to set them up per se. Maybe they can't pay my fees, but they want coaching. Right. So at the same time, we'll go through it and say, let's talk about who you're dating. Let's go over, I really like this girl. I don't know what happened. And help me figure out what I'm doing wrong. And that's what I do. It's kind of like Hitch.
I love that. And you are looking for gentlemen, aren't you? I mean, if the guy comes to you and you can tell that he's just not a great character, will you work with him?
I want quality people because I always say I have to wake up and feel excited about who I'm setting up. Obviously, I've had people, and we talked a little bit about this once before, about offering me large amounts of money to do things that I'm not comfortable with. And although from a business standpoint it makes sense, it doesn't from an integrity standpoint. And so for me, it's about, who do I feel like I can help and how can I work with the fastest to do the best job, right? And do it. Right. I mean, I might meet 10 people and go, I can only take 2 of these, but I know I'll have more success with these 2 versus what this group wants me to do. I got to feel good about what I'm doing at the end of the day.
How long after a divorce or a a breakup, should somebody go back into the marketplace? Because there's a healing that has to be done, isn't there?
There's definitely healing, and I think so much of it, for my suggestion, is really looking within yourself. So many people want to blame and go, oh, well, if my wife did this or my ex did this, and if she just did this, and I don't think you really heal from that. You need to look at yourself and say, what did I contribute? Because obviously there was a failure somewhere, right? And then it's looking at yourself going, how could I apply what's different next time so I don't duplicate that? So I think it really depends on the person and how self-aware they are. Some people are ready to go right away. They think they are.
Right.
And I've had many people that I've met, and I'm like, you really need to go this direction. Why don't you go the coaching route? Or maybe you should work with a therapist and go that route so you're really healed and ready. Because if you're not ready internally, I can put you in front of the best people in the world. But, and all the work that I put into it, I want to know that they're ready on the inside too.
Well, I'm amazed at you because humans are so complicated, aren't we? People are so complicated. So, a computer can do some work and say, okay, well, non-smoker, children. But what you do really you become almost a therapist, don't you? And kind of say, well, let's talk about your last relationship and why that ended. And
I do. As a matter of fact, there's somebody who just recently got engaged through me, and I was showing some information about that a minute ago. But that particular person the woman didn't really want to meet the man. And my job is to. I knew it was a good fit. I knew it, and I was certain. And sometimes you just have to say, listen. I know that on paper maybe a couple things are off, but you got to trust me. Try it. If I'm wrong, you can call me and say, Jennifer, you don't know what you're doing, but I don't think you'll say that. And sure enough, look, so sometimes people can be difficult. And I tell people to, obviously, if you really want a family, I don't think it's right to encourage a relationship for two people if the other person doesn't want a family. There's certain things that are absolutes that you need to keep and stick with. But, beyond that, I say, have an open mind and, don't nitpick every little thing.
I think one of the coolest things about you is obviously you want to make a living, but it's not really about the money for you. You love to match people. Like I said, I've been doing this since I was old enough to know how. And anybody who's known me from high school and college, if they're listening, they would absolutely say this is exactly what she was meant to do. This is my calling. And do you ever run into people at the mall and you think to yourself, I matched them up and here they have children and like you helped bring children into the world?
Yes. Happens all the time. We'll go out and I'll go, oh, look at this. I was actually at a restaurant not too long ago and I saw this couple and he had a couple kids, she had a few kids, and I knew I'd introduced them and he was widowed. And it was so inspiring to see, he didn't really think he was going to find what he wanted. And sure enough, I looked at this blended family and how happy they were, and they were having ice cream, and it was cute. And just to know that you're part of that is so gratifying. I'm very fortunate to be doing this.
I think we need to have a Jennifer Donnelly family reunion. Bring together all.
We'll start. Call your friend first. Call him after we're off the air. Tell him we're going to have he and his wife on.
We'll bring together the thousands of people and their children and maybe even grandchildren at this point. You've been doing this a long time.
I've been doing it a long time. And the fact that you know that you impact people's lives, and that's in such a positive way, you hope, right? Obviously, There's no guarantee. But I know that at the end of the day, I genuinely hope for success.
Do you feel like are people too impatient now? It seems like okay, well, I had a bad first date and I'm scratching them off the list. Does that happen?
You mean as far as writing somebody off if they're on that date? Do they say no quickly when they should give it a second chance?
Yeah.
Or it depends. I do think that I tell people if there's enough chemistry, something that go on that second date, because sometimes first dates can be a little uncomfortable, right? Sometimes. Right. And so, sometimes people are that representative of themselves, right? Go on that second date if you feel like there's enough chemistry, and then you can see. Men know a lot faster than women, right? Men are very quick to say, this is somebody I would or wouldn't like, where women are more willing to give it a little bit more time.
Okay, we've got about 1 minute left. How do people get a hold of you, and what are you looking for in a great client?
TheUltimateMatchmaker.com is our website. So if they could go to TheUltimateMatchmaker.com. And my clients, I want people who are relationship minded, that are obviously ready to find love. The people who are just looking to date a bunch of people aren't typically my clients. Those are the people that are on apps and dating sites and all of that. So my clients, they're definitely relationship minded, and they're willing to hand over the work to me.